everybody back to the channel for another video. This is a sort of a semi-workbench video. I didn't get a whole lot completed in the last week because I've had lots of stuff going on at work, lots of stuff going on at home, and I took a small mini vacation with my wife and my son. And so I didn't really do a whole lot. I did, though, happen to manage to work on some Star Wars ships that I've been 3D printing and scaling up and down depending. I have one out here in front of me. This is a Cr90 Corvette. It's really small. You can see my thumb. It's about the size of my fingernail. And it's actually twice the size it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be half that size, but then it's just too ridiculously small. So me and my wife have been writing our own set of Star Wars naval battle rules. She had a good name for it. She called it It's a Trap. And we've been working on them for about 3 weeks. Today we finished our iteration number, 7. And we think we're at a good place where it's viable to play and to show to others. So in the next week or so, I'm going to be giving it to one of my convention buddies, and he's going to be trying it out and giving me some feedback on what it needs or what I should add or take away. Essentially, they're a really easy set of rules. There's nothing complicated about it. It's not as complicated as Full Thrust. It's about as complicated as Halo Fleet Battles, but it's more of a ship-to-ship game versus Halo Fleet Battles, which is bases of 3 or 4 ships. Well, anyway, preamble aside, I've started printing off some Star Wars ships, and I just thought I would show those off in the first part of this video. So here we go. So Cr90, you can see it's pretty small. The bases are not finished yet. The bases are going to have a decal here, depending on the faction that it's for, and a name across the bottom. My cat's going to jump up. Boom, there he is. There's going to have a Rebel or Imperial decal and a name. And I may or may not paint the edges, depending on how well the decals come out, so I can tell you what faction it's from. The bases are also 3D printed, and they do come off their bases. So you can take them off with a little, you can't really see that little peg. And you just put it back on. And that way I don't have to print a 3D base for every single ship. I can just have, half the amount of bases and put ships on and off depending on the scenario that I'm playing. So this is the Cr90. I have that one. Now I'm zoomed in here. You can probably tell. You can see all the little hairs on my felt gaming mat. But that's just because that's such a small model. If I move on to another model, here is a Nebulon B Escort frigate. And it is, again, the Cr90 is supposed to be half that size, but everything else from here on in is basically to scale, as much as I could do it, or as much as I could get it. I spent 2 days just scaling ships, measuring, finding out how long they are in meters and comparing and changing. Anyway, there is a Nebulon B Escort frigate. Here is an Architons, is that what it's called? Architons light cruiser, or I'm not sure. They say it's a light cruiser, but it's very small. There is also a Lancer frigate, which is really tiny. I'll put him somewhere there. Here's the Lancer frigate. I have, what else do I have? I have a Cr69, which is even smaller than the Corvette. There's a Cr69 Gunship. What else? I'll show you all the small things first. And then I'll zoom out a little bit because they get much bigger from here. There is a Gazanti. There is a Marauder Cruiser. Well, it's a Marauder Corvette, I think it is. The reason why I really wanted to do this is I wanted to play a campaign game, tabletop, not Armada. I have Armada. They've got big honking chunky ships. I don't like the gameplay of Armada, so I wanted something different, and I just couldn't find. I tried Full Thrust. I tried them all. I couldn't really find anything that sat with me. So we decided to make our own. And I'm not saying that they're any better than anything else, but at least they work for us. So does anyone ever remember the old PC game Star Wars Rebellion? It had like a white front with a Star Destroyer kind of coming across it. That was my favorite game, bar none, when I was a teenager in my, I don't know when it came out. It came out in like 95, I'm not sure, 96. Anyway, for 10 years, I played that game religiously. And most of the ships that I made, apart from maybe this guy here, I made from that game. So you have the Dauntless Heavy Cruiser, which I never see anywhere. I have the Liberator Cruiser, which I never see anywhere. But yeah, these ships are inspired by that game. So what do we have? We went it off on the Cr69. Okay, what do we have next? We have one of the newer designs. This is a Mon Calamari MC30, I think it is. MC30. We got a... What's next? What will I do next? I'm just looking in my box that's right beside me here to bring out whatever I can. Yeah, we're basically on the small ships for now. There's much more than this that I've painted and I have upstairs, but right now this is the stuff that's game ready. I'm going to pause it here for a second and move these off. Okay, now we can see the cat's paw. You can see I've moved the ships off to the side, and we're going to start off with something a little bigger. So here we have Carrick Cruiser. There's a little bit of fluff there. Carrick Cruiser. We have an Imperial Strike Cruiser. Looks a little bit phallic, but whatever. We have a Mon Calamari MC40, I think it is. No, they're going to let me... These are all 3D printed by myself. I just got various files from around the internet, and I don't know, bumbled my way through them until I got them the right size. So at MC40, we have Interdictor 418. That's the... okay, maybe I'll just put this box down so I can... That's the pretty common ship. Everyone probably knows what that is. Anyway, the Interdictor 418. So we have one of those. And again, these are to scale. So the Nebulon B is to scale to that cruiser as best as I could figure it. We have the Rebel. A Rebel... What's this called? Not even sure what the name of the ship is, but it's a little escort carrier. Since we're on carriers, I'll show you the Imperial escort carrier. It's there. Much bigger ship. We'll move on to one of my favorite ships, and I have no idea why I like this ship so much, but here it is. I don't know why it's so ugly, but I really like it. And in the game, Star Wars game, in the PC game, Star Wars Rebellion, when you were playing the game, if anyone remembers, I always thought that I was going to have the Mon Calamari ships, all the cool ships, but I could never afford them in the game. They were so rare to get. Mainly my force was made up of these junkers and some like CR90s and some Nebulon Bs. So if I did manage to get a couple of these ships in a fleet, that was like my main fleet. So I think that's why I like it so much, because that's all I could really get. Then we have a... What's this called? An assault frigate. And then, of course, because it's based off of it, we have a dreadnought. And I'm running out of room on my screen here. What else can I go with? Might as well go with the Victory Star Destroyer for... I'll just move some stuff out of the way. So here's the Victory Star Destroyer. This is the Mark 1, I think. Not that I know the difference, really, but it has its missile bays open. Just leave the dreadnought there. So here's the Victory class Star Destroyer. We'll work on the Imperial 1 class Star Destroyer. Now the ships start getting a lot bigger. So here's the Imperial 1. You can kind of... Did my very best to put some lights along the side. Now again, this CR90 Corvette is twice the size it's supposed to be, so it should actually fit inside the... It's supposed to fit inside there, but I didn't want to muck around. So I'll just move the Dreadnought out of the way. We'll have the Victory, the Imperial 1. The Imperial 2 is basically the same as the Imperial 1, but it doesn't have that weird thing in the top. So here's the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. And then I have this ship here, which I think is called the Immobilizer. It's essentially a Imperial 1 Star Destroyer with the what are these things called? Anti-grav, anti-hyperspace bubbles. So there's that one. Pretty nice looking ship. Pretty unique. Sorry, I'm whacking the camera here as I'm trying to avoid everything. Then for the Rebels, I'll just leave this guy in the background. For the Rebels, then I have, everyone knows, the MC-80 Liberty, the MC-80 Wingless, and what else? Another one of my favorite ships from the Rebellion game is the Dauntless Heavy Cruiser. I'll show these off better whenever I'm going to do the fleets, the individual fleet showcases, because by then they'll have the decals on them and they'll look a little bit more crisp and clean. But for now, it's just showing you what I've done in the last week. So yeah, there's the Dauntless Heavy Cruiser. And in the game, when you got this in the PC game Rebellion, when you got this ship, you were doing pretty well for yourself. So I'm quite fond of it. Here's another staple of that game, the Liberator Cruiser. Very distinct looking ship. Actually a lot bigger than I thought it was. You see it next to a strike cruiser. Pretty big. What else do I have to show you? I'm looking in my little box here beside me. I got a whole box full of them, but I think I've showed you most of everything. I did want to show off one last ship, so I'm just going to pause it. I'll be right back. Okay, so Star Wars. What would it be without some of the big ships? So I did manage to 3D print myself a big ship, although it is not, don't even start, it is not a Super Star Destroyer because I just could not get that to fit on my build plate. I could do it, but it would take like a week and 4 bottles of resin and just too hectic. I will attempt to do the Bellator battle cruiser, or whatever it's called, the big long Bellator looking one, eventually, but I'm just not confident enough yet to try that. But I did manage, and I'm just going to move these ships out of the way. I'll move the Liberator out of the way and the Dauntless out of the way. So we'll leave the Imperial and the Von Kals there. This is the Ascendancy. It's on 2 pegs. And next to the Imperial, you can see that it looks like an Imperial, but it's, what is that, 3 times as big. It's got the turrets along the side and up the front here. So this is an Imperial battle cruiser. And you can see it next to the Von Kals. It's pretty much dwarfs them. I mean, look at it next to the Lancer frigate, which would be escorting it. It's in its shadow. Yeah, so that's what I've done. I've 3D printed and painted probably around 45, 50 Imperial and Rebel ships. I have lots more on the table printed and primed. Just got to go up there and paint them. I have several transports, Star Galleons for the Imperials. I've got, any Star Wars ship I can think of, apart from the huge ones, I've got somewhere around that need paint on them. But that's it for this week's workbench. Really not a whole lot. Usually I pump out way, way, way more stuff than this. But, you know what? I went to the Hot Lead convention on Saturday. Today is Monday. I went on Saturday. Normally I go for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I enjoy myself immensely. Usually I run 2 or 3 games at these conventions, but this year, it's the first time it's back after 2 years. Didn't have the energy to run even a single game. So me and my wife just went for the one day. My kids spent 9 hours in the pool, and I played one game, and I walked around and I bought a bunch of stuff. So the next video is going to be what I bought at Hot Lead. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.